Hello folks, thank you very much for the feedback with our Unsung Heroes series, the first video that we released. I'm so glad that you liked it and you're following it. Today, we're talking about sickle cell. What is sickle cell? Now, sickle cell is a condition in the blood which is genetic, which causes the shape of the red blood cells to be in the form of a sickle. Now, this causes a whole lot of problems, from blockages in the vessels to decreased oxygenations and a whole lot more. What I'm saying is that our red blood cells are transports of oxygen to the cells. Now, before these things can transport the oxygen, they have to be in good shape. And then they have to be malleable so they can pass through the vessels or the pathways in which they flow. If there's a malformation with the structure of the cell, it affects its ability to do what it has to do. This causes a whole lot of problems for the person. Today, we're talking to someone who has sickle cell disease. But this did not prevent him from achieving his dreams. He had always dreamt of being a doctor, and being a sickle cell patient did not stop him. He beat the odds. He went through medical school, all the crises, all the health challenges, and even the stigma which is attached to sickle cell. And today, he is a doctor. So, stay tuned and watch the story of this amazing young man.
Hello. I'm Dr. Anthony Anemana, medical officer. I'm just about to give a short interview, answer a few questions about who I am and how I've been living with sickle cell for my life so far. So I grew up in the northern region to Dr. Anemana and Augustine Anemana. My dad was a doctor and my mom was a nurse. So growing up, I pretty much knew I was born with sickle cell disease, and I've been living with it for my whole life. It was a bit easier because my senior sister also had sickle cell disease, and so my parents were much more strict with me when I was growing up. So comparatively to most people who are diagnosed late, I was diagnosed quite early, and I knew a condition from a much younger age comparatively. Life was pretty much normal until I entered late primary school, junior high school. I didn't understand why I was restricted from doing certain activities. It's not easy for you to see a child, everybody else in the classroom is playing football, and the rest, he's standing somewhere else. He also wants to play the football. It's not that easy trying to make a child understand why he doesn't have to exert himself at that particular age. So I felt left out. I felt that nobody understood my condition. But as I grew up, I began to understand the nature of the disease and its implications on me. It's frankly after I finished junior high school that I began to feel most of the complications of the disease. I had several episodes of acute chest syndrome and severe pneumonia. That was some time after my junior high school. At that time I was in the western region, Takoradi. I had some complications for which I stayed in the hospital for a long period of time. It was a bit challenging for me and the family at that particular point in time, but by God's grace I was able to pull through. Senior high school, my parents wanted me to go as a day student, but frankly, I didn't want to go as a day student. I also wanted to experience the senior high school life. So I was enrolled in pre-sec. It was quite a challenging life for me over there. Almost every month I had an episode of crisis. Almost every month I had an episode of crisis. It wasn't that easy. And at that time, my mom was in Tamale, my dad was in the Western region because of work. So it was kind of challenging for someone to always come for me from school in Accra whenever I fell sick and had to get me to the hospital. It was quite challenging during those particular years of my life. At the end of my first year, second year, I suddenly developed severe pain in my right hip. I couldn't sit, I couldn't walk. It was frankly unbearable. There was no position I could adopt to relieve me of the pain I was. Pain medications did not seem to help at that particular point in time. I went to see several doctors, after which I was told I had a complication of sickle cell disease called avascular necrosis of the femur. It was quite challenging during that period of time, so I had to use crutches for the rest of my senior high school years. Frankly, it was depressing. And even at certain points, I contemplated whether I should commit suicide or not, just to spare myself of all this challenge. But frankly, by God's grace and a lot of positive support and positive counseling by friends, family, my relatives, some of the teachers I had in school, I was able to pull through it, and I'm here today. The next phase of my life came when I was entering the university. I wanted to do medicine. It was quite challenging. I remember one particular point in time in the pre-university medical examination. I went to the Legon hospital where I asked to bring chest x-ray, ran some labs, and I went to see the doctor at that particular point in time. And he saw that my heart was a bit enlarged. And at that particular point, the doctor frankly told me that he doesn't recommend I do medicine because of how challenging the situation was. That is how it got. I got depressed after I heard that from the doctor. But I had to pull myself through. I had frankly gone through much worse situations before that particular time. So I just spoke to my parents about it, and they counseled me that whatever I wanted to do, they were with me and they fully supported me. So I still went ahead with the medicine because that is what I wanted to do. Medical school was challenging, frankly, because it's not easy. I had a hip problem. You go for lectures, sometimes you are supposed to stand for long duration of hours for clinical rotations and all that. It was quite stressful, but every step of the way God was with me. Sometimes you try to study too hard before you realize you break down before a paper. I frankly remember one instance before my pathology paper like this in my third year in medical school. That night we were having the pathology paper the following morning. That night I suddenly came down with a crisis. So I had to call my senior sister. My senior sister took me to one doctor. I was able to receive some infusions, some medications. Then I had to go and write the paper the next day. It's frankly been challenging, but through it all, I've had good support from my friends, my relatives, my family members, and my teachers. They've been with me every step of the way. They continue to encourage me to try to do better, to try to be a better me. And I'm grateful for all the support I have received. I'm grateful for all the counseling I've received, because frankly, I would not have been here without them. And most of all, I'm thankful for God's grace upon my life that I have been able to live and I've been able to get to this particular stage of my life. Currently, I do some minor advocacy. I'm mainly working as a medical officer with the Ghana Health Service, but I also sometimes do some advocacy with some sickle cell groups trying to raise awareness about the condition so that individuals can get tested, can know their conditions as soon as possible. Because getting tested and knowing your condition plays a much significant role in helping individuals get the right management needed for this condition. So I mainly volunteer for some advocacy work with an NGO organization started by one of my colleagues, Dr. Enam Bankas. The organization is called Sickle Life, and we've been trying to raise awareness about the disease in various parts of the country. We try to get individuals to get tested to know their blood groups. Okay. For example, this past year on World Sickle Cell Day, we went to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and the blood bank. We tried to get people to donate some blood for those who may need blood as part of the management for some complications with sickle cell. We also tried to get more stakeholder awareness involved in the management of the disease. We are currently trying to see if we can liaise with some organizations to get some drugs that are necessary for the management more affordable and more available. For example, hydroxyurea. We are trying to see if we can get this more readily available on the National Health Insurance Scheme for individuals to be able to get these medications to help with the management of the complications of the disease. We also do run some mentorship programs for individuals who live with the disease. As I said, it hasn't been easy for myself. Individuals growing up with the disease, most may end up going through the same challenges I went. Some may even have far worse stories than I do. So we do try to hold some mentorship for these individuals as and when we can. As I've said, my story has been challenging, but I'm not the only person. There are individuals who have far worse stories than I have. It's just that I have been given this platform to speak. To all those who are having these challenges up and down, I know that it is not easy and nobody may understand. Truthfully, I felt that way. But you are not alone in this, okay? God would see you through. And it is my prayer that we shall all live to accomplish and fulfill the purpose for which we have been placed on this earth. I continue to pray always for all individuals who are in a similar circumstance with me. And I know that by the grace of God, that we shall all live to bear testimony. Thank you very much.
Wow, what a story. I don't know if you actually heard him. You see, there are times in life when it's like you've been dealt with cards that you have no idea what to do with it through no fault of yours. But then, as the proverbial saying goes, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I hope someone is making some lemonade today. So, from Dr. Mansky, I say stay safe and be healthy.